Imagine if an entire civilization, thriving and vibrant, vanished without a trace, not in the slow decay of centuries, but in the incomprehensible blink of a single night. Imagine if the echoes of their existence, captured in monumental ruins and intricate artifacts, speak of a world abruptly silenced, a collective breath held, then never released. This is not the ephemeral flight of a nomadic tribe, nor the gradual decline of a society succumbing to conquest or ecological shift, but the profound, unsettling mystery of a sophisticated people simply ceasing to be, leaving behind only the stark, unsettling void of their absence. It is a historical paradox, a silence so complete it screams across millennia, challenging every assumption we hold about the rise and fall of human endeavor. The core mystery, one that continues to bewilder archaeologists, historians and philosophers alike, is the absolute suddenness of this cessation. Civilizations typically leave a trail of their demise, the scorched earth of battlefields, the mass graves of plagues, the eroded foundations of abandoned cities, or the written laments of their decline. Yet for this civilization, no such narrative exists. Their world, seemingly vibrant and robust, appears to have simply concluded, as if a cosmic hand pressed an invisible off switch on an entire culture. There is no evidence of a protracted struggle, no signs of a desperate exodus, no widespread indicators of a cataclysmic event that would account for such a complete and instantaneous disappearance. The profound absence of these customary markers of societal collapse is, in itself, the most compelling and unsettling piece of evidence we possess, transforming what might be a conventional historical puzzle into an enigma of unparalleled scale. This is not a tale of faded glory or of a people slowly absorbed by time. It is the stark, unyielding record of an unwritten final chapter. The enigma is compelling precisely because it defies the very logic of historical processes. How could a civilization demonstrating clear organizational capacity and a deep understanding of their world simply cease to exist, leaving no discernible trace of their final moments? How could a population, once numbering in the tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands, evaporate from the historical record as completely as if they had never existed? It challenges our understanding of human resilience, our concepts of societal breakdown, and the very boundaries of what is possible within the human story. The questions themselves seem to reverberate with a profound disquiet, solidifying a collective fascination, often bordering on outright disbelief that such a complete erasure could occur. The sheer improbability, it is argued, renders the concept unworthy of serious academic pursuit, consigning it to the fringes of popular imagination, yet the evidence persists. Yet, despite this ingrained skepticism, the subtle whispers of their existence resonate from the very landscapes they once inhabited. From the meticulously planned urban centers etched into the earth to the intricate irrigation systems that once transformed barren lands into fertile breadbaskets, initial glimpses of this once thriving culture's footprint abound. These are not the crude constructions of early tribal communities, but the unmistakable imprints of a sophisticated society. We find remnants of multi-story dwellings, often adorned with artistic flourishes that speak of a vibrant aesthetic. Complex road networks hinting at extensive trade routes and efficient administration snake across the forgotten terrain. Evidence of advanced metallurgy, pottery, and textile production points to a thriving economy and specialized craftsmanship. Their public spaces, large and thoughtfully designed, suggest a complex social structure, with systems for governance, communal gathering, and perhaps even ritualistic practice. Each fragment, each carefully constructed wall, each artifact of daily life, serves as a poignant testament to a people who lived, built, and thrived with a level of ingenuity and artistry that demands our respect. These are the telltale signs of a civilization that had mastered its environment, organized its populace, and cultivated a rich cultural identity. They were builders, innovators, and artists, deeply connected to their land and each other. Their cities, though now silent and often reclaimed by nature, still hold the blueprint of an organized society, a testament to a collective vision and the application of complex knowledge. This cultural footprint is not marginal or sporadic. It is pervasive, speaking of a widespread and deeply rooted society that had reached a zenith of its development. The more we uncover of their former world, the more profound becomes the chasm of their unexplained absence, turning every discovery into a further deepening of the central enigma. This brings us to the profound historical paradox of an absent people, a civilization whose very existence is proven by the enduring grandeur of their abandoned infrastructure, yet whose demise is entirely unrecorded and inexplicable. It is a presence defined by absence, a legacy etched in stone that simultaneously embodies the ultimate historical blank space. How can we reconcile such tangible evidence of advanced life with such a total, undifferentiated void where their population once stood? The customary progression of historical inquiry, which seeks to understand the how and why of societal change, is utterly stymied by this complete lack of conventional answers. There are no conquerors to blame, no environmental crises explicitly documented, no demographic collapse traceable in the archaeological record. It is as if they simply chose to step off the stage of history, collectively and instantaneously, leaving behind only the husks of their remarkable achievements. The very concept of a civilization achieving such sophistication only to vanish without a discernible trace in a single night creates an almost unbearable intellectual tension. It forces us to confront the limitations of our historical models, our predictive frameworks for societal collapse, and indeed, our understanding of human agency itself. Did they leave? Were they taken? Or did some unknown force beyond our current comprehension sweep them away? The paradox is not merely an academic curiosity. It is a profound challenge to our collective human story, a reminder of the fragility of even the most robust societies and the possibility of forces that can render even monumental achievements utterly silent. This echo of absence, this unspeakable void, demands a re-examination not just of one lost culture, but of the very narratives we construct about our past, prompting us to ask if other silent stories, equally profound, lie waiting just beyond the threshold of our understanding. This is where our journey begins, to explore the unsettling emptiness they left behind, and to ask if their silence might, in fact, speak volumes about the deepest mysteries of human existence. Having confronted the profound echo of absence, the unsettling void left by a civilization erased in a single night, our journey now pivots. We move from the silence of their departure to the vibrant, undeniable chorus of their existence, a song sung by the very stones they shaped, the rivers they diverted, and the heavens they observed. For while the people themselves vanished, their world did not. What remains is a testament, stark and undeniable, to an ancient society of astonishing sophistication, a culture whose footprint challenges our every preconceived notion of prehistoric capability. It is through these whispers from the stones, the meticulously preserved relics of their daily lives and monumental ambitions, that we begin to piece together the identity of a people lost to time, deepening the enigma of their instantaneous disappearance. Archaeological digs, once focused on the empty spaces left behind, now reveal a breathtaking tapestry of advanced societal organization and intellectual prowess. The evidence points not to a rudimentary culture, but to a highly evolved civilization, one that commanded complex technologies and possessed a profound understanding of their environment. Every artifact unearthed, every structural remnant painstakingly excavated, contributes to a picture of a people who lived with an extraordinary degree of foresight and ingenuity. From the smallest crafted adornment to the colossal foundations of their urban centers, a consistent thread of refined skill and intricate design is undeniably present. This is not the legacy of a struggling primitive people, but the indelible mark of a society that had achieved a remarkable equilibrium between human endeavor and the natural world, operating at a level of sophistication that seems to defy the very timelines we impose upon ancient history. It forces us to ask, what kind of civilization could build such a world, only to abandon it without a trace? The most striking revelation comes from their urban planning and architectural marvels. Excavations across several distinct regions reveal cities that were not haphazard growths, but meticulously designed ecosystems harmoniously integrated into the landscape. Imagine vast metropolitan centers, their layouts dictated not by chance, but by precise astronomical alignments, channeling natural energies and maximizing resource efficiency. Streets broad and often paved with interlocking, precisely cut stone crisscross these settlements, leading to communal plazas, public buildings, and residential districts, all conforming to a grand, overarching blueprint. The architecture itself was a marvel of both aesthetics and engineering. Towers of finely dressed stone, some reaching heights that still astound modern builders, pierced the skyline, often adorned with intricate carvings depicting celestial events or complex mythological narratives. The sheer scale of construction, the manipulation of immense stone blocks, many weighing dozens of tons, fitted together with a dry masonry precision that defies the use of conventional mortars, speaks of a forgotten science of construction. The structures were not merely functional. They were imbued with a profound sense of beauty and spiritual significance, demonstrating an innate understanding of sacred geometry and proportion. Each building, whether a grand temple or a humble dwelling, exhibited a consistency in craftsmanship that hints at a unified architectural philosophy, a shared body of knowledge passed down through generations. Their cities were not only vertical achievements, but also masters of subsurface integration. Extensive subterranean levels often lay beneath the visible cities, mirroring the surface structures in their precision and design. These underground complexes, sometimes multi-tiered, were clearly not just storage spaces or simple refuges. They housed sophisticated climate control systems, evidence of intricate pipe networks, and elaborate ventilation shafts that still draw air through ancient passageways today, an engineering feat that continues to baffle modern hydrologists and architects. The careful balance between natural materials and advanced design principles allowed these cities to thrive in diverse environments, from arid plains to fertile river deltas, showcasing an adaptability and a deep, empathetic connection to the very earth they inhabited. It wasn't just building on the land. It was building with the land, transforming it into a living, breathing extension of their societal structure. This level of environmental understanding, combined with their material mastery, hints at a knowledge base far beyond what traditional historical models allocate to civilizations of such remote antiquity. Beneath the grandeur of their architecture lay an even more astonishing testament to their technological prowess, a sophisticated infrastructure that supported an advanced, interconnected society. Evidence suggests a command over water management that rivals and, in some respects, surpasses our own. Intricate aqueduct systems, often subterranean, crisscrossed vast distances, delivering fresh water to every corner of their sprawling cities and irrigating agricultural lands with remarkable efficiency. These weren't simple channels. They employed gravity-fed pressure systems, filtration techniques, and reservoir designs that minimized waste and maximized flow, all without the obvious use of metal piping or complex machinery. How did they achieve such precise gradients over kilometers of terrain, navigating unseen geological obstacles without advanced surveying equipment? The question lingers, challenging our assumptions about the primitive nature of ancient engineering. Beyond water, there are hints of an energy infrastructure that remains enigmatic. While no direct power generation sites have been definitively identified, certain public buildings and communal spaces exhibit unusual lighting solutions, with polished, reflective surfaces and strategically placed apertures that capture and distribute natural light with astonishing effectiveness. Even deep, within multi-story complexes. The absence of widespread soot deposits in many residential and public structures, where open flame would have been common in other ancient cultures, suggests alternative, non-combustion lighting methods. Furthermore, the construction of their monumental structures often involved moving and placing immense stone blocks with an ease that defies the leverage and ramps explanations typically offered. Could they have understood principles of acoustics, resonance, or even gravitic manipulation that allowed them to move objects with forces we barely comprehend? The sheer consistency of these feats across their empire, from remote quarry sites to monumental urban centers, implies a systematic application of advanced physics and material science, a technological blueprint that remains tantalizingly out of our grasp. This was not random innovation. It was a calibrated, integrated system, a symphony of engineering designed to sustain a complex civilization. Yet their legacy extends far beyond mere bricks and mortar, or water and light. The archaeological record also provides profound evidence of a deeply complex social and spiritual life, revealing a society woven together by intricate rituals, a shared cosmology, and a sophisticated understanding of the human condition. Communal spaces strategically located within their cities suggest a strong emphasis on public gathering, debate, and collective decision-making. Amphitheaters carved into natural hillsides, often acoustically perfect, hint at a vibrant tradition of oral storytelling, performance, and possibly philosophical discourse. Their social structures appear to have been highly organized, with distinct yet seemingly harmonious divisions of labor, all contributing to the greater welfare of the collective. Their spiritual life, however, is perhaps the most captivating aspect. Temples, not just the grand urban centers, but also smaller, more secluded sanctuaries nestled in remote natural landscapes, point to a profound connection with the sacred. These were often aligned with significant celestial events, solstices, equinoxes, and planetary conjunctions, suggesting an advanced understanding of astronomy that was inextricably linked to their religious beliefs. Offerings of meticulously crafted artifacts, not of precious metals but of symbolically rich materials like obsidian, jade, and rare pigments, have been found in these sacred sites. These offerings often depict anthropomorphic deities, powerful animal spirits, and abstract symbols that tell a rich story of their cosmology, their reverence for nature, and their belief in interconnected realms. The consistent iconography across geographically distant sites implies a unified belief system, a shared spiritual language that bound their civilization together. It wasn't just a collection of disparate faiths, it was a deeply ingrained spiritual framework that guided their understanding of the universe and their place within it. A life lived in constant dialogue with the unseen forces of the cosmos. Finally, their artistic legacy provides an unparalleled window into the unique cultural markers of this vanished people. Every fragment, every relief, every ceramic shard speaks volumes without uttering a single word. Their art was not merely decorative, it was communicative, a sophisticated language of symbols and motifs that narrated their history, codified their beliefs, and expressed their collective identity. Imagine intricate wall murals preserved beneath layers of dust and debris, depicting scenes of daily life, grand ceremonies, heroic sagas, and visionary interpretations of the cosmos. The use of vibrant, enduring pigments, often derived from minerals that required advanced processing, suggests a mastery of chemical techniques and an aesthetic sensibility that prioritized both beauty and longevity. Their ceramic works, unearthed in astonishing quantities, range from utilitarian vessels to exquisitely detailed ceremonial pieces. These are characterized by a distinctive style, elegant forms, complex geometric patterns, and often narrative scenes rendered with a fluid grace. Each piece, even the most mundane, carries a subtle aesthetic signature, a craftsmanship that elevates it beyond simple function. Textiles, though fragile and rare, have been found in protected environments, revealing astonishingly intricate weaving techniques, elaborate embroidery, and a mastery of dyes. These textiles depict the same iconic symbols and patterns seen in their architecture and pottery, reinforcing the consistency of their cultural identity. From monumental sculptures that convey power and serenity to delicate figurines that capture the nuances of human emotion, their art reveals a people of deep sensitivity, intellectual curiosity, and an unshakable connection to their heritage. This wasn't merely a collection of beautiful objects. It was a visual lexicon, a cultural fingerprint, left behind by a people who, despite their sudden disappearance, spoke to us across millennia through the enduring language of their artistry. In every finely carved stone, every precisely engineered water channel, every spiritually resonant artwork, we find the whispers of a lost world. These aren't the relics of a struggling proto-civilization, but the profound remnants of a highly organized, technologically adept, and spiritually rich society. The sheer consistency of their advanced methods, their integrated urban planning, their sophisticated infrastructure, and their deeply meaningful artistic and spiritual expressions collectively paint a portrait of a people at the zenith of their cultural development. And it is this very sophistication, this evident mastery over their world, that deepens the chilling mystery of their sudden collective vanishing. For a civilization so advanced, so meticulously planned, so deeply rooted in its environment and its beliefs, to simply cease existing in a single night presents a paradox that the stones themselves, however eloquent, cannot fully resolve. Their enduring legacy, preserved in the very fabric of the earth, only compels us to ask more urgently, what force could have swept away such a magnificent world, leaving behind only the silent yet profoundly articulate testament of their extraordinary achievements? The answer, if it exists, lies not in their disappearance, but in the meticulously preserved snapshot of their final moments. The intricate architecture, the innovative infrastructure, the rich tapestry of spiritual and daily life we have unearthed from this lost civilization speaks not of a gradual decline, nor of a slow fade into the dust of ages. Instead, the ground beneath their magnificent cities, the very stones of their homes and temples, bear a haunting and singular signature, the indelible imprint of an abrupt and absolute cessation. It is not the story of a civilization that withered, or one that was painstakingly conquered, but rather a profound quietude, a silence that fell with an almost unimaginable suddenness, leaving behind a world frozen in time, suspended in the very act of living. For archaeologists accustomed to deciphering layers of destruction, adaptation, and decay, this is a distinct and deeply unsettling enigma. A historical paradox demanding an entirely new framework of understanding. One of the most striking, indeed almost unbelievable, aspects of this colossal disappearance is the utter absence of any conventional signs of conflict or invasion across their sprawling urban centers and fortified outposts. Typically, the fall of a civilization, especially one as advanced and organized as theirs, leaves an unmistakable archaeological fingerprint: breached city walls, shattered defensive structures, widespread evidence of battlefields strewn with weapons and human remains, layers of ash marking devastating fires of war, and the telltale signs of forced entry or deliberate sabotage. We expect to find the debris of sieges, the desperate fortifications erected in a last stand, the unmistakable markers of a violent overthrow, yet here, there is none of that. Their magnificent city gates stand unbreached, their formidable defensive walls, crafted with such precision and strength, show no scars of ancient weaponry, no evidence of relentless assault. The elaborate security systems, which hint at a deep understanding of tactical defense, appear to have been utterly redundant, as if the threat they were designed to repel never materialized, or perhaps arrived in a form they could not comprehend. This complete lack of physical traces of warfare, this pristine preservation of their carefully constructed defenses, forces us to eliminate the common narrative of conquest from our inquiries, deepening the mystery of their sudden absolute cessation. It implies that whatever transpired, it was not the work of a rival empire or a barbarian horde, for even the most thorough invaders leave behind some mark of their destructive passage. Compounding this profound silence of conflict is another equally perplexing absence, the lack of systematic pillaging or looting. In the wake of any societal collapse, particularly one involving an advanced culture possessing valuable resources and intricate craftsmanship, history teaches us that opportunistic looting and systematic pillage are almost inevitable. Conquerors strip cities of their wealth, fleeing populations grab what they can, and subsequent generations scavenge reusable materials from abandoned sites. Yet across the excavated sites of this civilization, archaeologists have consistently encountered an almost unnerving phenomenon: daily life artifacts, many of considerable value or cultural significance, left precisely where they were last used, untouched by the hand of plunderer or scavenger. Precious metals crafted into ornate jewelry lie forgotten on dressing tables. Finely carved ritualistic objects rest undisturbed on altars. Sophisticated tools, fashioned with a mastery we can only marvel at, remain in workshops mid-project, alongside raw materials. Even mundane household items, ceramic vessels filled with grains, textiles meticulously woven, personal adornments, are found in situ, as if their owners simply stepped away for a moment, never to return. This is not the signature of a population fleeing an impending disaster, desperately trying to salvage their possessions. It is the signature of an instant, inexplicable void, a moment so swift and all-encompassing that neither the inhabitants nor any subsequent visitors had the opportunity to lay claim to their earthly treasures. The absence of pillaging fundamentally challenges the notion of any human agency or even prolonged environmental upheaval in their demise. Further solidifying this haunting picture of instantaneous departure is the chilling absence of mass burial sites or any widespread archaeological evidence indicative of plague, famine, or other forms of catastrophic mortality. When populations are decimated by disease, famine, or sudden natural disaster, the archaeological record typically reveals hurried, often communal, interments, mass graves filled with skeletal remains bearing the telltale signs of illness or starvation. We find demographic shifts in cemeteries or the abandonment of traditional burial rites in favor of expediency. Even large-scale natural disasters, such as volcanic eruptions, while sudden, often entomb populations in place, leaving behind detailed, if tragic, snapshots of individual death. Yet, in the meticulously excavated cities and agricultural regions of this civilization, a profound and pervasive emptiness reigns. There are no vast cemeteries overflowing with the victims of an epidemic, no widespread skeletal deformities or markers of chronic malnutrition that would point to a devastating famine. Indeed, individual burial sites where they exist remain consistent with pre-disappearance customs, suggesting no frantic departure from their established practices. This fundamental lack of human remains, this ghost-like emptiness where hundreds of thousands of lives once thrived, renders the usual explanations for population collapse utterly inadequate. It suggests that whatever event transpired, it did not leave behind a multitude of bodies for archaeologists to discover. The people themselves, the entire population, vanished without a trace, without leaving behind the universal testament of their final struggle with mortality. Cumulatively, these profound absences of conflict, of pillaging, of mass mortality coalesce into an archaeological signature unlike almost any other in recorded history. The indelible mark of an instantaneous departure. It is a signature that speaks of a civilization simply ceasing to be, not through a process of decline, nor through a violent end, but through a singular, unparalleled event that swept them away without warning, without struggle, and without leaving a single corpse or battle scar behind. This is not the slow degradation of erosion, nor the sharp cut of a devastating war. It is the clean, unnerving incision of an immediate void. The very air within their structures seems to hum with a question. What force, what power could obliterate an entire people so thoroughly, so utterly, leaving only the ghost of their vibrant existence? The meticulous archaeological work has not found the reason for their disappearance, but it has undeniably defined the manner of it, immediate, silent, and without physical trace of the vanished. This is the stark, perplexing truth that emerges from every shard of pottery, every unlit hearth, every untouched tool. It is this preserved snapshot of their final moments that truly haunts the modern investigator, offering tantalizing glimpses into a life abruptly interrupted. Imagine, if you will, a scene, a meticulously prepared meal, perhaps a stew still simmering over a cooling hearth, ceramic bowls and utensils laid out on a low table, but no diners. A loom with an intricate tapestry half woven, the shuttle resting precisely where the artisan left it, threads still taut and vibrant, waiting for a hand that never returned. In a child's playroom, toys scattered on the floor, a game unfinished, pebbles arranged in a pattern that speaks of innocent delight. Tools in a sculptor's workshop, chisels nestled beside a partially completed relief, the stones still bearing the fresh marks of recent work. In agricultural fields, irrigation channels carefully maintained, ready to nourish crops that would never be harvested. Domesticated animals often found tethered or confined to their pens, patiently awaiting the return of their masters, a return that was never to be. These are not isolated instances. They are a pervasive pattern across all excavated sites, painting a chillingly consistent picture of lives paused, not ended, as if the very flow of time had been instantly severed for an entire people. The sheer normalcy of these preserved scenes, the intimacy of these abandoned remnants of daily routine, underscores the suddenness of the event. There was no time for preparation, no frantic packing, no desperate goodbyes. Life was simply continuing, vibrant and active, in one moment, and in the next it was gone, leaving behind only these profound, poignant echoes of what had been. To examine these preserved snapshots is to engage in a form of archaeological forensics unlike any other. Each unfinished task, each abandoned object, each undisturbed domestic scene becomes a silent witness, testifying to a precise moment when an entire civilization collectively ceased to exist. What were their thoughts in that final, unrecorded instant? What sensory input dominated their perception? Were they engaged in conversation, in contemplation, in the simplest acts of living? The lack of struggle, the absence of any signs of panic or alarm, speaks volumes. It suggests an event that was either entirely imperceptible or so overwhelmingly swift and absolute that no reaction was possible. This isn't a culture that migrated, for such an exodus would leave the deliberate removal of possessions, a clear path of movement, and perhaps even signs of resettlement elsewhere. This is a culture that simply ceased to occupy its physical space, leaving behind only the meticulously detailed stage upon which their last, inexplicable act played out. The artifacts tell us not what happened, but what didn't happen. There was no slow decline, no protracted conflict, no agonizing plague, no organized departure. There was only a living, breathing civilization, and then, without a trace of struggle or farewell, a profound, absolute stillness. This is the haunting archaeological legacy of their final moments, an unparalleled testament to a global vanishing act that defies every conventional explanation, setting the stage for the profound questions that will define our search for understanding. The world they left behind, a meticulously preserved tableau of daily life, abruptly halted, presents a haunting stillness that invites, even compels, inquiry into the nature of their disappearance. For generations, the absence of any discernible trace of conflict, plague, or gradual decline has confounded every conventional explanation. creating a void that mainstream archaeology has struggled to fill. It is a paradox, an entire civilization, seemingly vibrant one moment, utterly gone the next, leaving behind a pristine ghost of its former existence, as we explored in the remnants of their final moments. This unparalleled mystery forces us to examine the very forces capable of such widespread and instantaneous erasure, to scrutinize the monumental powers of cataclysm and the subtle machinations of conspiracy, each offering a potential, yet ultimately flawed, key to the profound enigma of oblivion. The initial instinct, when confronted with a sudden, complete disappearance of a population, is often to attribute it to the raw, unbridled power of our planet. Could a geological cataclysm, an event of such overwhelming force, have simply swept this civilization away without a trace? The Earth, in its profound slumber, holds the capacity for devastation on an unimaginable scale, and it is to these grand, destructive forces that our first hypotheses invariably turn. We consider the supervolcano, an eruption so colossal that it injects vast quantities of ash and aerosols into the atmosphere, plunging entire continents into darkness and triggering a volcanic winter that could render vast regions uninhabitable for decades. The immediate fallout, a suffocating blanket of ash, lava flows and pyroclastic surges, could instantaneously obliterate cities and their inhabitants. Yet, the meticulous geological surveys of their settlement zones reveal no widespread distinctive ash layers of such an event contemporaneous with the civilization's final moments. There are no signs of massive, sudden terrestrial upheaval that would cleanly explain the simultaneous vanishing of an entire people across their known territories. While a localized volcanic event might devastate a single city, it struggles to account for the uniform, immaculate disappearance across a broader geographical footprint. The archaeological record, as we have seen, suggests a cessation, not a violent burial, a clean slate rather than a landscape scarred by immediate geological trauma. Then, there is the devastating potential of a mega tsunami, a colossal wave unleashed by an undersea earthquake or landslide, capable of scouring coastlines clean and penetrating far inland, leaving widespread destruction in its wake. Such an event would arrive with terrifying speed, offering little warning, and could, in theory, engulf coastal settlements with devastating efficiency. However, the evidence gleaned from the ruins of this vanished culture does not conform to the signature of such a watery catastrophe. Many of their well-preserved sites are situated at considerable elevations or significant distances from ancient coastlines, locations that would have been entirely impervious to even the most immense of tsunamis. Furthermore, the delicate artifacts, the unturned pottery, the unspilled grains of the last meal, all left precisely in place, contradict the churn and chaotic deposition of a powerful water surge. Megatsunamis leave a chaotic trail of debris, sediment, and displaced structures, a signature utterly absent from the undisturbed snapshot of this civilization's final moments. While these geological titans possess the power to wipe away, they rarely do so with such surgical precision, leaving behind a stage so strikingly pristine. The Earth's fury, for all its might, tends to leave undeniable scars, and for this vanished people, those scars are simply not to be found. Beyond the sudden, violent convulsions of the Earth, other theories point to more insidious environmental forces, a slow strangulation of life rather than an immediate obliteration. Could a profound shift in climate, a sudden and catastrophic environmental collapse, have rendered their world unlivable? We ponder the possibility of an abrupt desertification, a prolonged drought that dried up their rivers and springs, turning fertile lands into barren wastes, forcing an unbearable choice between starvation and mass migration, or perhaps a sudden, drastic cooling period, an unexpected ice age that descended with terrifying speed, freezing crops in the field and making survival impossible for an entire civilization dependent on specific agricultural cycles. These models of environmental stress have, throughout history, been potent drivers of societal collapse, forcing populations to abandon their homes and seek new territories. Yet once again, the unique archaeological signature of this vanished civilization presents an insurmountable hurdle for such explanations. The evidence does not speak of a desperate, drawn-out struggle for survival. There are no mass burials indicative of widespread famine or disease, no signs of malnutrition in the skeletal remains that have been recovered, no hastily abandoned settlements indicating a forced, chaotic exodus. Instead, what we observe is an abrupt, simultaneous cessation, a world left as if its inhabitants simply stepped out for a moment, never to return. A slow environmental degradation would leave behind a trail of increasing hardship, dwindling resources, desperate adaptive strategies, a decline in craftsmanship, and ultimately, a gradual abandonment of sites, often with signs of desperate salvage or hasty departures. None of this is present. A sudden environmental shift, perhaps caused by an impact event, might explain the abruptness, but would still typically leave its own distinctive geological markers, and critically, would likely result in the deaths of the population, leaving bodies or at least a struggle. The profound and unsettling absence of any human remains across all known sites, coupled with the untouched artifacts of daily life, defies the very logic of environmental collapse, leaving us with a deeply unsettling void where evidence should be. The quiet cleanliness of their departure remains the most stubborn fact against such theories. If neither the Earth's violent tremors nor its more insidious environmental shifts can account for the sheer totality and instantaneous nature of this disappearance, then perhaps the answer lies within humanity itself. Could a mass exodus, a voluntary or forced migration on an unprecedented scale, be the key? The idea suggests a coordinated, perhaps even planned, departure of every single individual from their thriving cities and settlements, leaving behind the tableau of stillness we have encountered. But if such a migration occurred, it raises a cascade of profound and unanswerable questions. To where did they go? An entire advanced civilization, tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands strong, cannot simply vanish into the historical ether without leaving a trace of their journey or their eventual resettlement. There are no signs of a sudden influx of a large, technologically advanced population appearing anywhere else in the contemporary world, no new settlements founded by people bearing their distinctive cultural markers, no trail of migration camps, discarded tools, or unique pottery along a migratory path. The logistical challenge of moving an entire civilization, including the elderly, infants and non-combatants, across vast distances with such speed and secrecy, without leaving a single historical or archaeological footprint, seems almost insurmountable. Furthermore, we must consider the possibility of an internal societal breakdown, a catastrophic event born from within the civilization itself. Could a devastating civil war, a violent uprising, or perhaps even a cult-induced mass suicide have led to their complete obliteration? While history is replete with examples of societies torn apart by internal strife, these events invariably leave behind discernible archaeological signatures, mass graves, widespread destruction of infrastructure, evidence of siege warfare, fortifications, and the chaotic dispersal of artifacts. Yet, as we have consistently observed, the sites of this vanished civilization are remarkably intact, devoid of any signs of conflict, widespread violence, or intentional destruction. There are no mass burials, no fortified last stands, no indications of battle or systemic violence that could account for the complete absence of every single inhabitant. The notion of a mass suicide, while chilling, rarely encompasses every single member of an entire civilization, including the young and the old, and would still leave behind a profound, if macabre, archaeological record of human remains. The undisturbed nature of their homes, the unlooted treasures, the complete lack of any human remains whatsoever at any site, utterly contradict the conventional explanations of internal societal collapse. once again pushing us towards a more radical interpretation of their vanishing. When conventional scientific paradigms and historical models consistently fail to account for a phenomenon of such magnitude, the human mind, in its desperate search for answers, naturally begins to wander into the realm of the extraordinary, the speculative, and the truly fringe. It is in this intellectual vacuum created by the utter inadequacy of established theories that hypotheses of the truly radical begin to take root, however unsubstantiated they might be. Could the disappearance be attributed to some form of extraterrestrial intervention? The idea of alien abduction, of an entire civilization lifted from the planet by advanced beings, holds a certain dark allure, providing a simple, if unprovable, explanation for the clean, instantaneous vanishing. Such theories often gain traction precisely because they offer a total solution to a total mystery, explaining away the lack of bodies, the absence of conflict, and the untouched nature of the sites. However, despite their popular appeal in the shadows of academic inquiry, these extreme hypotheses uniformly suffer from a critical, indeed fatal flaw: a complete absence of empirical, verifiable evidence. There are no landing sites, no alien artifacts left behind, no celestial events recorded by other contemporary cultures, no unique technological signatures that defy earthly physics. While the concept of advanced beings is not inherently impossible, attributing such a momentous event to their actions without any testable data pushes us far beyond the boundaries of scientific investigation and into the realm of pure conjecture. Similarly, other fringe theories suggesting a spontaneous dimensional shift, the accidental activation of advanced technology leading to mass teleportation, or even a deliberate coordinated dematerialization, serve primarily to highlight the degree of mystery surrounding this civilization's end. They are conceptual constructs born of desperation, not substantiated by any archaeological, geological, or physical evidence that can be analyzed or critiqued within our current scientific frameworks. They are the expressions of a profound human frustration when faced with an enigma that stubbornly refuses to yield to logic, a testament to how deeply unsettling the complete absence of a people can be, but not a viable explanation themselves. Ultimately, the persistent and unsettling truth emerges. Every conventional and even unconventional hypothesis, when rigorously applied to the unique archaeological signature of this vanished civilization, falters. They fail, not because they are inherently unsound theories for other societal collapses, but because they cannot simultaneously account for the completeness, the cleanliness, and the simultaneity of this specific disappearance. A major geological disaster would leave massive, unmistakable evidence of destruction, not the pristine snapshot we have discovered. Climate change or environmental collapse would manifest as a slower decline, or at least leave behind the desperate marks of struggle and death, which are conspicuously absent. Theories of mass exodus require a destination and a migratory trail, neither of which exists. Internal societal breakdown would leave traces of conflict, violence, or human remains, all of which are utterly missing from their deserted cities. And while fringe theories can offer narrative satisfaction, they lack any grounding in empirical data, leaving them outside the scope of scientific investigation. The profound paradox remains: an entire civilization ceased to exist, not in stages, not with a struggle, not through natural forces leaving clear scars, but as if plucked from time itself, leaving only their perfectly preserved empty stage. This total and inexplicable absence challenges the very limits of our explanatory models. It demands an event or a force that is either utterly unknown to us, operating on principles we cannot yet grasp, or a deliberate act of such unprecedented scale and coordination that it transcends every historical and scientific precedent. The inability of current theories to explain the complete disappearance is not a failure of individual hypotheses, but a collective testament to the unparalleled nature of this enigma. It forces us to confront the humbling realization that humanity's past and the forces that shape it may contain chapters far more profound and far more terrifying than our current understanding allows. It pushes us beyond the conventional, compelling us to consider the truly extraordinary as the only viable explanation for a civilization that simply, impossibly, vanished into the night yet. When the conventional frameworks of explanation buckle under the weight of an unparalleled enigma, when every established hypothesis from grand cataclysm to slow societal decay falters in the face of absolute unyielding absence, humanity's relentless quest for understanding does not cease. Instead, it reconfigures, it recalibrates its instruments, sharpens its focus, and delves into realms previously considered the exclusive domain of future technology. The profound void left by this vanished civilization demands a different approach, a deeper gaze into the very fabric of our reality, compelling us to move beyond traditional excavation and into the silent archives of the earth itself. It is a scientific pilgrimage, a journey into the unseen, utilizing the unblinking eye of advanced sensors and the meticulous precision of forensic analysis to seek whispers where no sound should be. This is the era of cutting-edge forensic archaeology, where the subtle, energetic imprints left on the landscape, the microsignatures of vanished life, are now brought into startling relief. No longer confined to the dusty shovel and the painstaking brush, modern inquiry harnesses a suite of technologies designed to perceive what the human eye, even aided by generations of experience, cannot. Ground-penetrating radar, for instance, once a niche tool, has become the archaeologist's subterranean vision, allowing researchers to peer beneath layers of accumulated sediment, deciphering the ghostly footprints of buried infrastructure, tracing the outlines of lost buildings, and mapping the intricate urban plans of this vanished people without disturbing a single grain of earth. It paints a picture not of destruction or decay, but of a sudden, almost surgical, cessation. Magnetometry, by detecting anomalies in the Earth's magnetic field, reveals the faint, lingering signatures of ancient hearths, kilns and metallurgical activities, confirming the sheer vibrancy of a society that once thrummed with industry, yet whose physical inhabitants left no trace. LiDAR technology, scanning the landscape from airborne platforms, peels back the dense jungle canopy or the accumulated dust of millennia, revealing the meticulously planned road networks, the sophisticated agricultural terraces, and the monumental ceremonial complexes that hint at an advanced society. These digital models do not merely document what is there, they meticulously reconstruct what was, allowing scientists to visualize the civilization in its full, majestic form just prior to its inexplicable disappearance. But even as these technologies unveil the breathtaking scope of their existence, they simultaneously deepen the paradox of their exit. For every hidden plaza revealed, every water management system brought to light, the absence of any signs of struggle, any evidence of a population in distress, any mass graves or hastily abandoned settlements becomes more stark, more unsettling. The data consistently affirms a civilization thriving one moment and gone the next, leaving only its exquisitely preserved ghost etched into the silent earth. Remote sensing extends beyond the visible and the magnetic, probing the very molecular structure of the archaeological sites. Portable X-ray fluorescence, PXRF analyzers, once confined to specialized laboratories, now provide instant geochemical signatures of ancient soils and materials, identifying residual elements from long decomposed organic matter, confirming the presence of human activity even where no physical artifacts remain. Isotopic analysis of ancient water sources, preserved in subterranean cisterns or fossilized in rock, can trace migrations, dietary habits, and even the subtle environmental shifts experienced by the civilization, offering a snapshot of their world in the moments before it became a tomb of silence. These methods, precise to the atomic level, contribute to an ever-growing body of negative evidence. the definitive lack of expected markers of catastrophe or exodus, which, in its overwhelming consistency, becomes a profound form of evidence in itself. It's an archaeology not just of discovery, but of meticulous disproof, a relentless quest to eliminate every conventional explanation. Yet, the investigation plunges deeper still into the immense, silent repository of Earth's own memory, the geological and paleoclimatological records. To understand the incomprehensible vanishing, we must understand the planet itself, its deep past, and its potential for cataclysmic change. Advanced geological analysis scrutinizes the stratigraphic layers beneath the civilization's settlements, seeking any seismic scars, any telltale signs of volcanic upheaval, or the subtle yet devastating traces of a mega tsunami that might have wiped them from the surface. Microseismic monitoring, sensitive enough to detect minute tremors over long periods, examines the ongoing tectonic pulse of the region, seeking patterns that could indicate a sudden, violent geological event. But for all its precision, the Earth beneath these sites remains stubbornly quiet, offering no definitive signature of a localized, civilization-ending cataclysm. Paleoclimatological analysis, equally sophisticated, sifts through proxy records encoded in ice cores, ocean sediments and ancient tree rings. These natural archives provide an incredibly detailed historical climate log, allowing scientists to reconstruct the atmospheric conditions, temperature shifts, and precipitation patterns that defined the civilization's existence. Were there sudden, dramatic shifts in global climate that could have rendered their lands uninhabitable? Did prolonged drought, or conversely unprecedented floods, conspire to force a mass exodus, leaving no trace? High-resolution climate modeling, simulating past environmental scenarios, can test these hypotheses with unprecedented accuracy. But here too, the results are baffling. While the planet's climate is indeed a dynamic, often violent force, the paleoclimatological data surrounding the precise temporal window of the civilization's disappearance reveals no immediate, overwhelming environmental catastrophe that would explain such a complete, instantaneous and seemingly unforced cessation of life across all known settlements. The climate, by all accounts, was relatively stable, supportive of life, at the very moment they ceased to exist. This deeper investigation, with all its technological prowess, invariably leads to one of the most profound and unsettling challenges in all of scientific inquiry: the interpretation of missing data, the eloquent silence of negative evidence. How does one prove an absence? How does one construct a definitive narrative from what did not happen, from the expected traces that simply are not there? It demands a reorientation of thought, moving from the tangible proof of presence to the equally compelling proof of non-presence. The absence of mass burials is not merely a lack of evidence, it is evidence of a lack, suggesting a departure or obliteration that did not leave corpses. The absence of conflict is not merely a blank page, it speaks to a peace or a fate untouched by warfare. The absence of signs of slow decay is not a missing chapter. It signifies an abrupt end. Archaeology, traditionally built on the tangible, on the fragments unearthed, finds itself wrestling with a ghostly footprint, a civilization defined as much by its comprehensive undoing as by its magnificent being. This is the ultimate intellectual hurdle, to accept that the most profound truth might be found in the vacuum, in the meticulously documented non-occurrence of expected events. It compels researchers to develop new statistical models for negative evidence, to quantify the unquantifiable, to assign weight to the silence itself. Can the absence of soot on a cave ceiling be evidence of non-combustion lighting? Can the absence of geological fault lines under a city be evidence against a localized earthquake? The scientific method demands falsifiability, and here, the very act of failing to falsify conventional theories becomes the most compelling, albeit unsettling, discovery of all. It is a narrative etched in what is not there, a story told by the gaping holes in our expected historical record. Yet, despite this relentless barrage of advanced analytical techniques, despite the unprecedented ability to peer into the Earth's hidden layers and past climates, the core anomalies of this vanishing civilization persist with a stubborn, almost defiant refusal to conform. The very elements that initially baffled traditional archaeology, the complete, sudden cessation of all life, the intact personal effects, the utter lack of struggle or conflict, the absence of disease, cataclysm, or mass migration remain precisely that, anomalies. Every new piece of forensic data, every reconstructed paleo-environmental condition, every remote sensing sweep that maps their once thriving cities only serves to amplify these enigmas. The more we learn about how they lived, the more baffling their instantaneous unliving becomes. The precise chronology, refined by advanced dating techniques, still points to a remarkably narrow window of disappearance, often within a single generation, sometimes even more acutely. The architectural and technological signatures, so clearly indicative of a sophisticated, organized society, provide no hint of an impending collapse or self-destruction. The ecological footprint, reconstructed from paleobotanical and faunal analyses, suggests a sustainable relationship with their environment, not one teetering on the brink of resource depletion. These enduring anomalies, like unyielding monoliths in a field of shifting theories, continue to point towards a phenomenon that transcends the known variables of human civilization's rise and fall. They are not merely unanswered questions. They are deep, profound contradictions to almost every established model of societal termination. The advanced investigation, rather than solving the mystery, has instead, with piercing clarity, defined its boundaries, emphasizing the truly unique and unprecedented nature of this event. In the face of such a singular and unprecedented event, where conventional theories universally fail and cutting-edge science only sharpens the edges of the unexplained, the boundaries of archaeological inquiry itself are being fundamentally redefined. This vanishing civilization, by its very absence, forces a paradigm shift, demanding a bold reimagining of how we approach the study of humanity's past. It is no longer enough to excavate and interpret. We must now also contemplate the almost unthinkable, to entertain hypotheses that once resided solely in the realm of speculation, to question the very architecture of our understanding. This is a call to intellectual courage, to transcend the comfort of established methodologies and embrace the discomfort of the truly unknown. Archaeology, once primarily a discipline of material culture, must now fully integrate disciplines like quantum physics, theoretical cosmology, and even consciousness studies, to explore possibilities that lie beyond the conventional scope of historical materialism. What if the cessation of an entire people involves phenomena that our current scientific lexicon cannot even adequately describe? What if the evidence we seek for their disappearance is not physical, but energetic or even temporal? This unique event compels researchers to consider the subtle interconnections between human consciousness and the physical world, between collective intent and historical outcome, between the known laws of physics and possibilities that extend beyond our current grasp. It demands a holistic, interdisciplinary approach that ventures beyond the traditional academic silos, encouraging collaboration between scientists who might otherwise never cross paths. The challenge is not merely to solve a historical puzzle, but to expand the very definition of what history can be and what forces, seen and unseen, might shape its course. This is the profound reimagining, to accept that the very absence of an entire civilization is not merely a gap in our knowledge, but a profound invitation to redefine the limits of human inquiry, to stretch our understanding of reality, and to confront the terrifying, awe-inspiring possibility that there are chapters in humanity's story that demand an entirely new language to read. After traversing the frontiers of forensic archaeology, scrutinizing every particle of soil, every artifact, every subtle geological tremor, and exhaustively applying the most advanced analytical tools to the profound void left by this ancient people, we are left not with answers, but with a question far grander, far more unsettling than the mystery of their cessation itself. The persistence of the inexplicable, the enduring silence where a thriving civilization once stood, transforms our inquiry from a mere historical puzzle into a stark, almost visceral confrontation with the profound impermanence of all human endeavor. It forces us to look beyond the immediate archaeological enigma and into the chilling implications for every civilization that has ever risen or ever will. The most profound implication of this instantaneous erasure, this sudden vacuum in the tapestry of time, is the brutal clarity with which it illuminates the fragility of human civilization. We build monuments of stone and steel, craft complex social structures, accumulate vast reservoirs of knowledge, and forge intricate global connections, believing perhaps subconsciously in a certain inevitability of legacy. Yet, the story of this vanished culture, its sophisticated urban planning, its technological prowess, its rich spiritual life, all meticulously unearthed and then abruptly cut short, serves as a potent, undeniable testament to the precariousness of even the most advanced human achievements. It asks us to consider whether our own present-day advancements, our perceived permanence, are not merely illusions, as vulnerable to unforeseen forces as the meticulously crafted world that vanished in a single night. This collective human enterprise, so vast and seemingly unyielding, can, it appears, be extinguished without so much as a final whisper, leaving behind only the ghost of its presence for future generations to puzzle over. It suggests that permanence is not a guarantee, but a fleeting grace, susceptible to forces that operate on scales we struggle to comprehend. This unsettling realization compels us to reconsider the unknown forces that perpetually shape planetary history, operating beyond the immediate grasp of human agency or prediction. The absence of traditional markers for collapse, no evidence of conflict, no mass burials from plague, no gradual environmental degradation pushes the boundaries of our conventional explanations for societal demise. It hints at a spectrum of planetary events, perhaps even cosmic phenomena, that remain largely unacknowledged in our historical frameworks, yet possess the power to fundamentally alter the course of life on Earth. Was it a geological cataclysm of unimaginable magnitude, a sudden atmospheric shift, or a transient encounter with an extraterrestrial phenomenon that utterly erased this civilization, leaving no discernible trace of struggle or transition? The limitations of our current scientific models to account for such a complete and instantaneous disappearance underscore a humbling truth. The planet itself, with its deep time geological cycles and its cosmic vulnerabilities, harbors capacities for transformation that far outreach our predictive capabilities. We may chart tectonic plates and monitor solar flares, but the sheer, raw power of the universe, occasionally unleashed in forms beyond our current understanding, casts a long, silent shadow over our perceived control. This civilization story, or rather its abrupt non-story, serves as a stark reminder that we are but transient tenants on a dynamic world, often ignorant of the true scope of forces that weave through the very fabric of existence. The silence left by this vanished civilization, therefore, does more than merely confound archaeologists. It directly challenges the established timelines of human rise and fall, urging a radical re-evaluation of what we presume to know about our collective past. Our historical narratives are typically constructed as linear progressions, from primitive origins to agricultural revolutions, through empires, dark ages and renaissances, culminating in our present technological age. Each era builds upon the last, leaving discernible layers of evidence. But what if entire chapters, perhaps even entire volumes, of this grand human story have been utterly lost, swallowed by similar inexplicable events? If a society capable of such advanced urban planning and intricate infrastructure can disappear so completely, without leaving the conventional archaeological breadcrumbs of transition or collapse, then how many other sophisticated cultures might have existed, risen and fallen in the vast, unrecorded epochs before our documented history began? This sudden cessation of existence, utterly devoid of the usual signs of decay or defeat, forces us to entertain the unsettling notion that our historical compass may be fundamentally skewed, pointing only to the visible tips of countless submerged icebergs. It suggests that the perceived linearity of human progress is a convenient fiction, that the gaps in our knowledge are not merely missing pieces, but evidence of entire forgotten worlds. This profound mystery, this collective forgetting of a once thriving people, bears a crushing philosophical weight, the burden of historical amnesia. To know that a sophisticated civilization existed, built, dreamed, and then simply was not, without leaving a story of its end, introduces a deep disquiet into our understanding of human legacy. We strive for immortality through our creations, through our written records, through the echoes we leave in time. Yet here is a testament to the ultimate vulnerability of all such efforts. It is a terrifying realization that even the most advanced societies, those leaving an undeniable mark on the landscape, can fall victim to a silence so absolute that their very extinction becomes an enigma. The inability to articulate their end, to assign a cause or a consequence, leaves a scar on our collective consciousness, a void that transcends mere academic curiosity. It strips humanity of a narrative, a potential lesson, a piece of itself that simply ceased to be. This historical amnesia, not just about what they did, but about why they vanished, resonates with a melancholic echo, highlighting the tragic truth that not all stories are preserved, not all ends are known, and that sometimes the greatest monuments can be reduced to the most profound of questions. Ultimately, the ghost of this vanished civilization stands as a universal warning, an ancient, silent oracle speaking of the profound fragility of human existence itself. It reminds us that our place on this planet, our dominion over nature, our intricate technological webs, are not absolute guarantees against oblivion. The same forces that birthed life on Earth also harbor the capacity for its swift and complete undoing. It is a call to humility, urging us to recognize the temporary nature of all our grand constructions and our cherished narratives. This forgotten people, whose advanced world was here one moment and gone the next, presents a challenge not just to our archaeologists and historians, but to every human being currently walking the earth. It compels us to confront our vulnerabilities, to question our assumptions of progress, and to remember that the greatest threats to our future may not always be visible or comprehensible within our current paradigms. It asks us, with an unspoken urgency, to consider the resilience of our own civilization in the face of the truly unknown, to reflect on the meaning of legacy when even the most undeniable presence can be so utterly, mysteriously erased. This unwritten chapter of human history, illuminated by an absence, warns us that the greatest lessons are sometimes etched, not in monuments, but in the profound silence of what once was and then, inexplicably, was no more.